Hey gardeners, this is Jeff at Whirlwind Family Farm, and today we're talking about watering our plants. It's that simple. Whenever we started Whirlwind Family Farm, we had to make a decision. How are we going to irrigate our vegetables and our plants? And so a lot of factors had to be thought about. Where we live is an area that water is tough to come by. When you drill a well, it's very difficult to find water, so it's a very precious commodity. So were we going to do sprinkler systems? Were we going to do soaker hoses? Were we going to do drip lines? So all these factors came into be. And we'll take a look at each of those and talk about it just a little bit. But one of the things, as you can see behind me, is a drip system. And that is ultimately the way we decide to go. But let's take a quick look at that. First of all, our decision was, would we go overhead and would we go with a sprinkler system? Well, when you do think of those, one of the systems that is the best out there, in my opinion, is a wobbler system, because it spins and it emulates rain and does a good job of distribution. But it is using considerably more water per hour. So that was one of the reason we didn't do it. Another thing that you have to consider when doing overhead is you're watering everything. Pathways, edges, so areas where weeds tend to grow, you're giving them water as well. So that's one of the things to consider. Sometimes it is the best way to go in a big, larger area and you need a lot of distribution. So overhead is a good way. Soaker hoses in small areas, that's not bad. If you have a raised bed, soaker hoses are nice, but you also have to make sure, maybe put those on the timer because they may tend to put out more water than usual. And then it comes down to drip tape or drip lines. And that's what we chose. And we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But again, we'll show you the pictures of the wobbler right here. Next, we'll look at a soaker hose. You can get those at Amazon right here. And then, of course, we're going to take a look now at the drip systems and exactly how that works. So now let's take a look at why at Whirlwind Family Farm we use drip tape or the drip system. For us, it's a very economical use of water. It's actually putting the drip exactly where it needs to be, specifically right by these plants. You can set these up where each bed, these are 36-inch beds. This particular bed has 3 rows, as you can see, or over on this bed that is a little bit more narrow, we have 2 lines running. It's totally up to you on how you set these up. The other thing is it is using far less water per hour. This is around 2 to 3 gallons per hour for all this entire bed, where if it was an overhead system, it might be 5 to 6 times gallons per hour used on this area. So we're being very economical with that drip system. And again, it's putting soaking water in about a 8 to 10 inch area around those plants, getting it down deep exactly where it needs to be. Now these emitters, which we'll show you the emitter here in just a second, are 12 inches apart. As I lift this line, you can actually see that drip on those lines coming out every 12 inches. So getting the water exactly where it needs to be. So the system is simple to put in. There is a header line which comes across and feeds each of these drip lines. We use just a simple water hose that goes back to the faucet. And as it comes in, it's a little bit more complicated than you'd have on a regular drip system, but it's nice because you've got a filter system. Because we run off of a well, there's some sediment. There's a filter in here which can be cleaned and changed about every 2 months. There's a main toggle switch which can cut everything off. There's a PSI regulator. I believe that keeps it down to 12 PSI, so you're not overloading these lines and breaking them out. So very, very effective. And let's take a look at those emitters up close. As I mentioned, here's a line that I have that's recently cut. If you look closely, you can actually see those emitters. And again, they're about 12 inches apart on this drip tape. So that's why we use drip tape here at Whirlwind Family Farm, you're getting that moisture exactly where it needs to be. You're not running too much water and wasting water. You're not putting water out in these beds and edges where you possibly could be actually watering weeds. You're getting it to your plants. So let's take one more quick look. So now you've seen our system and exactly what we do at Whirlwind Family Farm. We use the drip system, which is very economic with water. It's using it very wisely, and that's why we chose it. But your situation may be different. You may need a greater distribution, and that's where the wobbler comes in. You may need an overhead mount with a spinner. You may need a soaker hose in a small raised bed. Whatever it is, you can do your research and see exactly what works best for you. But in our case, the drip line works beautifully. Doesn't use too many gallons per hour, and it's something that gets the water to where it needs to be. We use Farmer's Friend. That's where we purchased ours. They are not a sponsor, but they do have a great system. You can piece it together individually from the parts, or they'll actually sell you kits where you can have a 12-line system and have the PSI regulator, the filters, and everything comes all together in the kit. And that's a great way to go if you're starting off brand new. So thanks again. It helps the channel. We really do appreciate if you like, subscribe, and of course hit that bell for notification. Thanks. This is Jeff from Whirlwind Family Farm. Talk to you soon.